quali incontriamo le microplastiche. E nelle microplastiche, naturalmente in questo caso, quelle più vicine a noi, quelle che nella nostra attività quotidiana, cioè le microplastiche nella casa. Anche qui mi ero documentato brevemente per vedere un po' qual era il taglio almeno tecnico delle microplastiche in casa e ho trovato insomma che la diffusione delle microplastiche può essere legata anche ad attività banali come strappare un pezzo di scotch, per esempio, può determinare dei residui di microplastica. Immettere microplastiche nell'ambiente basta aprire una bottiglia, appallottorare un sacchetto, scartare un prodotto alimentare. Secondo poi uno studio su Scientific Reports, anche la semplice apertura di imballaggi di plastica può contribuire in modo significativo ad aumentare la quantità di microplastica dispersa nell'ambiente. Prima si riteneva che le microplastiche fossero rilasciate soprattutto dall'industria e dai prodotti come nel caso del settore tessile e della cosmesi o che fossero prodotte dal progressivo deterioramento di oggetti di plastica come bottigliette d'acqua o fili di nylon. Però il contributo delle attività quotidiane come quella di tagliare determinati oggetti, strapparli o torcere imballaggio o contenitori di plastica, quindi non era stata presa in considerazione. Uno studio pubblicato su Nature ha monitorato generazioni intere di microplastiche durante l'apertura degli imballaggi, taglio di nastri sigillanti e apertura di tappi di bottiglie di plastica attraverso microscopi e test chimici. I ricercatori hanno scoperto che ognuna di queste azioni quotidiane e banali genera una significativa quantità di particelle di microplastica. Nel dettaglio si stima che tagliando una superficie di plastica lunga 300 cm si possono generare da 10 a 30 nanogrammi di frammenti di microplastica. Quindi sono tutte attività della nostra vita quotidiana che noi non consideriamo ma che producono microplastiche in quantità elevata. Quindi ora prima di, non so se Francesca si è connessa?
Sì, ci sono.
Ok, buonasera Francesca Gennaro
Buonasera.
del liceo Battaglini. So che tu hai un video per noi
Sì,
e ti cedo la
ho preparato
parola.
sì, ho preparato un video dove appunto cerco di riassumere alcune curiosità sulle microplastiche per far sì che questo diventi un tema comune in quanto è molto vicino a noi e a volte non ce ne accorgiamo, diciamo. E quindi ho trovato alcune curiosità per far sì che questo diventi uno stimolo per creare un mondo migliore, diciamo. E quindi magari adesso lo condivido.
Perfetto,
In
grazie
fact, the
mille.
title of her work is For a Better World, if I remember well.
Yes.
Okay, For a Better World, okay?
Hello everyone, I'm Francesca and on the occasion of this event I created a presentation for you about some curiosities about microplastics. The goal is to understand how close this theme is to us and to everyday life, to simple actions we perform. It is a stimulus not to remove the problem, but to try to find a solution to make the world a better place. I do not add anything and I wish you good viewing.
Hello and welcome. I'm Francesca and in this event, dedicated to microplastics, I want to talk about some news and curiosities concerning this broad topic. Let's start by reviewing what are microplastics. They refers to small particles of plastic material generally smaller than 1 millimeter down to the micrometric level. Microplastic pollution caused by very small waste that infiltrates the environment and food is considered a threat to the ecosystem and human health. We have a lot of news, curiosities about this kind of reality. But the question is, what is happening? Let's see it together. So let's start with an example. Health. The alarm is growing. For their analysis, the British researchers focused in particular on those that are comparable to the concentrations found today in nature, and that we humans take in many different ways, starting with food, in particular fish and seafood, but also common table salt and drinks. What emerged? This comparison revealed that, at the concentrations to which we are regularly exposed, microplastics have deleterious, even permanent, effects on human cells. They can damage their walls, cause allergic reactions, and even kill them. What to do? Now that we know the problem better, The next step will be to try to mitigate it by identifying the foods and drinks with the highest average concentration of microplastics, and therefore the most dangerous. But according to Evangelos Donopoulos, first author of the study, the long-term solution is only one: to eliminate plastic waste and its dispersion into the environment. Let's go forward with another news really wow, and enter the world of animals. IT is not pollen. We find it in food, in seas and oceans, even in our feces. And now, according to what we read in a study published in Science of the Total Environment, even on an insect that already has several other problems, and that if he could, he would gladly avoid having to worry about this too. Let's talk about bees. Both domestic and wild bees are increasingly covered not with pollen, but with microplastics. But what damages our animals? Hooks, balloons, and fishing nets. Plastic bags are the #1 cause of death. If accidentally ingested by an animal, they can cause intestinal blockages and are particularly lethal to cetaceans and sea turtles. Fishing-related waste, on the other hand, is lethal to larger animals, especially seals and sea lions, which seem almost immune to the charm of plastic bags. Finally, balloons and rubber objects are a scourge for small fauna. In particular, birds are at risk of death caused by accidental ingestion of pieces of rubber. And news about even the little children. When you drink from a plastic bottle or eat from a microwave container, there is a high probability that you are using a polypropylene container, a material designed to be safe, suitable for many applications, including food containers that require high-temperature water or microwaves to prepare. E-bottles are also mostly made of polypropylene. These are usually rigid bottles, which do not release materials when they are sterilized with hot water or shaken for the preparation of baby food. But recent research shows that this is not the case. The use of polypropylene bottles exposes children to an average of 1 million microplastic particles per day. A decidedly surprising number, both for the volume involved, and because previous studies stated that adults and children in industrialized countries are exposed to quantities of microplastic particles of about 211,000 units per year, taken with eating, drinking and breathing. Two quantities not even remotely comparable. Have you ever played with Lego? Legos are indestructible bricks, as anyone who has ever put a foot on them, with or without a shoe, can confirm. But what exactly do we mean when we say indestructible ? This question was answered by a study conducted by the University of Plymouth, England, which scoured the beaches of Cornwall in search of old Lego pieces. The choice of Cornwall is not accidental. Over the past decade, volunteer organizations in the area have worked to clean up the beaches of a veritable invasion of thousands of pieces of plastic, including Lego bricks dating back to the 1970s and 1980s. How they got there is not difficult to imagine, and it is just as easy to understand why they represent a problem. The Plymouth team, led by Andrew Turner, then took 50 samples of beached Lego bricks and weighed, dated and compared them with pieces from the same period but never came out of their box. Let's go now to finally look at a good news. According to the United Nations, 300 million tons of plastic end up in landfills every year. To solve the problem in a definitive way, the only solution seems to be to drastically reduce its use, but its versatility and very low production costs make this path, in fact, not very followed. And so while researchers around the world have been working for years to develop a material that is comparable to plastic from an industrial and economic point of view, and at the same time eco-sustainable, other scientists are thinking about how to reuse the mountains of synthetic waste that we produce every day. Plastic fuel. Hongfei Lin and the Washington State University recently developed an innovative process that turns plastics into jet fuel. The researchers exploited a long-known process, pyrolysis, which involves heating the plastic to a high temperature, between 300 and 900 degrees Celsius, in an oxygen-free environment. Under these conditions, plastic breaks down into various substances, and with the addition of appropriate chemicals it is possible to obtain new products, such as fuels, lubricants and combustible gases. Scientists focused on polyethylene and tried to treat it, prior to pyrolysis, with various solvents until they discovered that N-hexane, another petroleum derivative, is what it offers highest returns at the end of the reaction. If, on the other hand, You want to obtain high-quality lubricants. It is better to enrich the process with a different solvent, methyl cyclohexane. I hope this little talk has been interesting and stimulating for our minds. See you soon.
Well, Anya, what can you say?
Anya, your impression?
Yes.
Yes, first I would like to apologize. I missed the start due to my bad connection. So now I follow the this almost like a very good overview of all applications and all processes where we can find microplastics. And I think I didn't hear, was this the Francesca? Is she a student?
Yes, she is.
Okay,
So Francesca Gennaro,
Yes,
she is
okay.
attending the last year, yes, at our school, yeah.
Yes, I'm speechless almost because she included a lot of studies, researches. She made a really good overview, and because it's very important that we are aware of huge preservance of these materials in the environment. So Francesca, congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Complimenti Francesca, in chat ci sono i complimenti anche della dottoressa Dermol che si complimenta per il video. Io ti faccio i miei complimenti personali e un grosso in bocca al lupo per gli studi che saranno conclusi quest'anno, e quindi naturalmente se li affronterai con questa capacità, credo che non ci saranno problemi di alcun tipo.
Yes, because I think that with a lot of details for our contribution, that can be a very great opportunity for your citizenship or a production, okay, at the exam. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gennaro. Thanks a lot, Francesca.
Grazie Francesca Gennaro.
Grazie a voi.
Ok, quindi passiamo ora, dopo questa bellissima introduzione della studentessa di Francesca Gennaro, alla microplastica nella nostra vita quotidiana. C'è un video a questo punto.
We have been focusing on macroplastic objects that we encounter every day, at home, or at work. And macroplastic products contribute significantly to the problem of microplastics in the environment, especially when these macroplastic products become a waste and, under various physical-chemical processes, begin to form polymeric materials in micro size. In this case, we talk about the formation of secondary microplastics. In this video, however, we focus more on primary microplastics, which are made intentionally in dimensions of less than 5 millimeters. They are often used in personal care products or as raw material, as an additive in the industrial production of some other products. When I researched the field of microplastics in the broader household, I found that there are a considerable number of these products to which a polymer material of this size is intentionally added. I think as many as 130 different synthetic polymers were being added. However, if we investigate more specifically polymeric materials' chemical and physical properties, there are significantly more of these structural variants. But still, the definition of the criteria that define microplastics play a considerable role in what we consider microplastics in our study. I then decided to proceed primarily from a report from the European Commission. From 2015 to 2017, a considerable number of studies and data were collected from the field of intentionally used and added microplastics. We can then divide these products, which contain microplastics, into 10 rough categories. These are, for example, cosmetics, personal care products, detergents, and cleaners. A large group also includes paints, coatings, inks and toners, industrial abrasives. Intentionally added microplastics are also found in agriculture, pharmacy, wastewater treatment, technological processes in construction, and other areas where this is less visible. The criterion chosen by the European Commission for the definition of microplastics is that microplastics are composed of artificial plastics. So synthetic polymers are the basis. A significant part of the definition is that these particles are insoluble in water and are solid. The size of these particles is less than 5 mm. Nanoparticles can also be placed in this category. Why am I mentioning this now? Because only solid, water-insoluble particles are defined here. However, we have quite a few water-soluble polymeric materials often used in various fields. It is currently uncertain whether the criteria for microplastics are met in such cases. You all probably know polyethylene glycols, which are water-soluble polymers, then polyvinyl alcohol. Suppose we look at the tablets for the dishwasher, which are wrapped in a fragile foil, which then decomposes or is soluble in the water. These ones are mainly made of polyvinyl alcohol. These are examples of polymers that do not meet all these criteria but still can be defined as microplastics. We will, therefore, also talk about these water-soluble polymers below because I think they are also vital. Here I have listed the most used polymer materials that are intentionally added. The European Commission then decided to look at those materials that are most used and potentially the most dangerous. These are polyethylene, polymethylmethacrylate, polyamide or nylon, polyurethane, and styrene acrylic polymers. I believe that these names do not mean much to many people, but you can still recognize them by their abbreviations. Why are these 5 polymers most researched? Mainly polyethylene and polyurethane because they have a very high market share. So, the materials that contain polyethylene and polyurethane are massive because even the applications in which they are used are numerous. Somehow 3 to 4 categories. Polyethylene chemically has reactive functional groups, that is, some chemical groups with low concern. It does not show any great concern, so it is a less dangerous polymer. However, if we look at polyurethane, these reactive functional groups are very worrying in their structure, making it one of the more hazardous polymers. Polymethylmethacrylate has also been studied because it is very commonly used and has functional groups of high concern. What does that mean? Being a high level of concern means that it has some parts in its structure, atoms that have a very high potential to continue to react chemically. If we look at it chemically or a little more generally, polyurethane or polymethylmethacrylate in a mixture with some other chemical can also trigger unwanted chemical reactions. Polyamide, that is, nylon also has many applications. It has a medium level of concern when it comes to chemical structure. Styrene acrylic copolymer is very similar to polyurethane. You see that the size of microplastic particles differs little, but we always speak in dimensions in micrometers, which means less than 5 millimeters.
Abbiamo seguito questo primo video che devo dire è abbastanza scioccante per la quantità di contatti quotidiani che abbiamo nella vita di ogni giorno, appunto, con le microplastiche. Devo dire che penso di rientrare a casa sorvolando il pavimento, cercando di non toccare più nulla per evitare di avere contatti con sostanze che potrei in qualche modo comunque mantenere addosso anche involontariamente. C'è
Microplastics are all around us.
All around, in any case.
Yeah.
C'è un altro video subito dopo, poi faremo una serie di domande appunto del sistema di Mentimeter. Qual è il ruolo delle microplastiche nei vari prodotti per la casa?
Now, let's do a general review on why is microplastic being added to products? Here are the categories or products on the right side in which microplastics have a specific function or purpose. The most famous or the most common role of microplastic components is the abrasive effect or peeling. We speak of abrasiveness or abrasive material when the material, due to its hardness, is used to grind a softer material. This can be the skin itself, for example. Microplastics are also used as an emulsifier to enable the mixing of chemically diverse liquids or substances that do not otherwise mix. It may also have a binding function or a filler role. In pharmaceutical solutions, it enables the controlled release of ingredients when we talk about capsules, allowing a more controlled or gradual release of an active substance. The formation of a protective film, the function of the surface coating is also possible. Then, microplastics can improve the chemical and mechanical resistance of a product. Finally, they can act as an absorbent of liquids, such as in various hygiene products we use in everyday life. Then, microplastics can act as a thickener, mainly in paints and cosmetics. They also have an aesthetic purpose of improving products' visual properties. It can also work as a flocculant, for example, in the case of wastewater treatment. If you may not know this word, flocculant is used to eliminate turbidity in larger pool waters and sewage treatment plants. It scorches smaller microparticles into larger ones to be more easily removed from the water during mechanical cleaning and other procedures. Then there is the function of drainage, dispersion, and the role of a turbidity agent, which is related to visual effects and an anti-static agent's role. So we see that the functions of these microplastic components that we find can be very diverse. Of course, using them also increases the emissions into the environment since the emission channels are very diverse. I listed everything here with the intention that you look at it later, but we will not go into details now, maybe only the first three. We often have these types of products at home. So personal care products and cosmetics. Many studies and literature divide products into rinse-off and leave-on products. Rinse-off are those products that we wash off after use, while leave-on are those that we apply to different parts of the body. Then there are super absorbents, and as you can see, their emission pathways are different. They can be through direct human output, solid waste when we dispose of these products, or through household wastewater, when we wash a product and the microplastics is rinsed to the drain. The same goes for detergents. As we can see, the emission routes are via wastewater or solid waste. When we talk about paints, inks, coatings, the emission routes depend on the product's use area. We are even interfering more in industrial use, as paints, coatings, and inks are widely used in industry. We also have additional emission routes into the environment, such as spills of paint during the application, transport, and abrasions. Then there are the emission routes of industrial abrasives. What are possible routes to the environment in agriculture, where soil and groundwater may also be affected? We have a pharmacy, wastewater treatment, construction, and, of course, others, such as furniture, soft toys, adhesives, and sealants. From these examples we can conclude that we, humans, are in constant contact with microplastics in terms of function, categories, and emission pathways.
Non so se ci sono domande su questi primi video che devo dire lasciano sempre perplessi su come in ogni caso noi utilizziamo le cose senza conoscere minimamente ciò che ci circonda, i materiali con i quali vengono fatte le cose. Ero scioccato dalla piscina, devo dire, dalle informazioni che sul cloro delle acque utilizzate per le piscine. Sono cose che naturalmente noi non pensiamo e che invece fanno parte proprio del quotidiano. E prima di una delle nostre famose domande dalle quali deriviamo delle percentuali di ricerca.
Augusto, can you read the chat? There is a request by Alenka. Maybe yes, the answer could be yes, but I'm waiting for my headmistress answer, okay? Reply. Okay, because yes, I appreciate that you liked our video, okay, a lot.
Yes, I told it before. She sent her compliments to the student of the Liceo Battaglini. Ok, ora in questa domanda che adesso Alex ci farà vedere, riprendiamo un po' dei dubbi che ci devono naturalmente cogliere nel momento in cui utilizziamo prodotti. Ci dobbiamo chiedere perché vengono aggiunte microplastiche in determinati prodotti, qual è la finalità? Ci sono delle risposte multiple. Ecco, quello è il link per andare per poter effettuare la risposta. Perché pensi che le microplastiche vengano aggiunte intenzionalmente ad alcuni prodotti? Con risposta multipla, il prodotto è di migliore qualità, il prodotto è più durevole, per migliorare la proprietà primaria del prodotto. Eccolo qua, più durevole, state già rispondendo. Perché il prodotto è più efficiente, per rendere il prodotto più bello, oppure perché il prodotto diviene più economico.
So the question is, why do you think microplastics are inside some products, but intentionally put inside
Yes.
some products. Why? That's interesting to see different answers.
I would love to, but I don't understand quite good those Italian
okay.
words. Yes,
Okay, do you understand the question?
of course.
Okay.
So what?
Yes, no.
Yes, the question
We
was.
will translate the
So
answer.
go. Okay. Yeah. So why do you think microplastics are put inside, but intentionally put inside some products? Why?
For reasons of quality, for a longer period of duration of the thing. So for
to ameliorate, to improve some primary properties of that product, because that product could be more efficient and also more beautiful, maybe.
more beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
For economical reasons.
Yes, cheaper, but also
Cheaper.
to have a cheaper product. What reasons are different? Okay.
What about the perception?
Of course, I prepared this question, sorry, and I have to say all answers can be right. So it was a little bit tricky because microplastics can be intentionally added due to all these reasons. Okay, but I wanted to know what is the most recognizable by you. So, for example, in Slovenia, students.
Yes, maybe that one,
yes.
the pink one. Yes,
yes.
It is related to the long time for the long life of the product.
Okay, to prolong the
to prolong,
life.
Yes.
Okay, the item.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the red?
Red is the primary properties
function
of the product. Okay. Yes, to ameliorate, to improve. Yes, the primary properties of the product. The second one, number 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Anya, you were comparing something with Slovenia.
Yes, it's because in Slovenia, 30% of students think that the microplastics are intentionally added because the item or the product is cheaper afterwards. So because of the price, and it's quite interesting and also quite similar to you. They thought that with the microplastics, we can improve the primary characteristics of the products. And as I said before, all answers are correct.
Okay.
And depends on the application. So already on the field of personal care products, the mostly sorry, no, I will say it differently. Microplastics primary role is abrasiveness in many products. So microplastics improve their primary characteristics, but on the other hand, on the makeups, it's more due to the aesthetics and visual effects. So it depends on the application of the product.
Okay.
Yes.
Quindi in ogni caso tutte queste risposte vanno bene, vanno tutte bene. Naturalmente ci diceva che anche in Slovenia c'è una percezione, diciamo, diversa. Molti pensano che quasi tutto è fatto per la maggiore durata del prodotto, fondamentalmente. Però tutte le varie casistiche che vengono proposte in questa domanda vanno tutte bene, perché sono in realtà poi tutte vere, indipendentemente dalle percentuali. Adesso credo che ci sia un video sulle microplastiche nel personal care.
Let's continue with numbers, because the problem of microplastics is mainly about quantity. For some areas, data may not be available at all or is very difficult to obtain, even estimates. However, the European Commission has done some analysis in collaboration with the Initiative of Plastic Europe. In the case of personal care products, they found that the annual quantity of microplastics in Europe is around 700 tons per year for laundry products, or between 500 and 1,100 tons per year for the products we use in households. For detergents, these amounts are slightly lower. We should also mention paints, coatings, and abrasives, especially industrial abrasives used in many industrial processes such as industrial sandblasting. You can see that when we talk about this aspect, the use of paints in construction contributes around 220 tons of microplastics per year. But still, why did I add another 22,000 to 38,000 here? Because the number 220 is a number for which we can reliably say that it comes from the paint sector. On the other hand, various analyses, especially in Denmark, show that the actual amount of microplastics obtained from this source is significantly higher. But when we talk about industrial abrasives, the figures for microplastics are somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 tons per year. Now, let us go through the three categories most often used at home, in households, in everyday tasks. These are mostly personal care products and detergents. First, maybe some numbers to get us started. As stated earlier, in the European Union, 714 tons of microplastics a year are expected to come from rinsing personal care products. Cosmetics Europe, the Association of Cosmetic Manufacturers, points out that according to their reports from 2012 to 2015, the use of microplastics in cosmetic products has been significantly reduced. The microbeads, which are small microplastic particles purposely added to some cosmetic products, are still used in various skin cleansing and exfoliating products. However, in 2017, it was estimated that very few European manufacturers still use synthetic polymers in their products. Let's go back to the criterion, for which purposes microplastics can be added to personal care products. According to the definition of Plastics Europe, microplastic perform the function of rubbing, cleaning, peeling, but in fact, there are even broader aims for its use. It depends mainly on what function it performs, what kind of polymer it is, the type of polymer, its size, and the shape of this polymer. Some can be spherical, amorphous, some are hexagonal, so the microbeads can be very different or even different from the nature of the product in which they are used. This wide range of features that microplastics can present in personal care products is also listed here. Not only the abrasive feature, the role of exfoliator, rubbing, or cleaning functionality, they are also added to products to regulate the viscosity, opacity, binding capability, structure, and volume of the product itself. They can also be used in makeup, especially for the effects of optical blurs, such as glitter. It can also allow the availability of other components in the product. Microplastics can act as a filter or an emulsifier, retain certain substances, and many more. When we talk about synthetic polymers, there are also some water-soluble materials like polyvinyl alcohol, polyethylene glycol. These plastic materials are currently not considered as the particles that would contribute to the problem of microplastic pollution of, for example, the marine environment. However, these materials may be examples of synthetic polymers that are more and more prevalent. If we look at the amount of microplastics according to their types and types of products in which they are used, they are mainly used for cleaning and rubbing. Here you can see the quantities. Outstanding is 440 tons per year for hand cleaners, professional ones, followed by a high proportion of peels for feet, face masks, and some shower gels. If we look at what kind of polymers constitute these products, polyurethane is the most frequent. Polyethylene, nylon, or polyamide and polylactic acid appear a bit less often. However, as we can see, polyurethane and polyethylene are the most frequently used polymeric materials for household products.
Ok, questo era il primo video che riguardava il care products e poi ce n'è subito un altro che riguarda i detergents and cleaners.
In the meanwhile,
Let's go to another category of products that we often use at home. These are detergents and cleaners. The European Commission estimates that detergents and cleaners contribute around 200 tons of microplastics per year. But, of course, this estimate can be taken just as a framework. We can see from this table that solid surface cleaners, such as glass ceramic cleaners, which contain fine polyurethane powder, contribute the most to the intake of microplastics. That is, microbeads. I found that this polymer powder represents up to 5% of some products' volume or mass. Then we have toilet cleaners for sanitary facilities, where the contribution of microplastics seems to be minor, somewhere around 12 tons per year. I found that about 10% of products in this category contain microplastics. The share has been significantly reduced in recent years. Then we have other cleaners, stainless steel cleaners, and maybe other specific cleaners, oven cleaners, stain removers, and similar, perhaps less frequently used than other general ones. We can see that all these products available on the market contain microplastic components. Luckily, these quantities are relatively small. But what are these microplastic components? These are rheology modifiers. These are substances that increase or change the viscosity of a product. When we have a product in hand, this means how the contents will flow out of the packaging, how hard we will have to squeeze and what force we will use when using the product, how the product will smear, and what will happen after its application. However, if we look at bathroom cleaners, this information could not be found in most cases. In any case, polyethylene microbeads are primarily used for such purposes. The function of microplastics is apparent in this category of products. They serve as cleaning abrasives and rheology modifiers that improve properties such as viscosity, cohesion, and structure, possibly with some additives such as glitter, which also contributes to aesthetics. In my little research, I found only one cleaner where it says that it contains microbeads on its packaging. However, when we look at the declarations of such products, they usually do not define which polymer the products include, or they describe the added components as non-ionic surfactants. These are substances that enable cleaning features. Here I show one example of a cleaning product with an eco-label. You should pay attention to this label. In the previous year, in 2021, the European Commission significantly tightened and changed the conditions for products such as detergents and cleaners to obtain this label. What exactly are these criteria? One of the critical criteria is that the product does not contain any microplastics. It should not contain any nanomaterials, hormone disruptors, and other substances, including allergens. The Commission is stringent also about allergens. And the product must contain completely biodegradable ingredients. The Commission has also become very strict in proving the sustainable origin of palm oil, therefore also in terms of the supply chain and testing of such cleaners. So in the future, you should pay attention to this label when choosing the right product.
Qui siamo andati un pochino di più nello specifico fino ad arrivare agli ecolabel della Commissione europea per i prodotti per quanto riguarda le etichette su ciò che deve essere inserito e quali sono i requisiti, evitando naturalmente per poter esporre questa etichetta di ecolabel tutta una serie di sostanze all'interno, anche se poi diciamo è molto difficile riuscire, c'era anche un commento nel video, ad individuare effettivamente quanto le etichette possano essere poi realistiche. Io di recente mi sono occupato per motivi di lavoro proprio del biologico, e anche lì l'etichetta di prodotto bio presentava tutta una serie di requisiti che invece determinati prodotti non avevano e che comunque si fregiavano del titolo di prodotto biologico. Ecco, lo stesso paragone si può fare con gli ecolabel nel caso appunto di detergenti, prodotti per l'igiene, per la pulizia e poi per tutti quelli che sono i prodotti per la casa. Maria Grazia, stavi aggiungendo qualcosa, credo, sì.
Yes, in the meanwhile, a lot of students, the number of students is increasing in the meanwhile. And one question, but so do you think that some companies, some firms can try to counterfeit the labels?
Absolutely yes.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely yes. This is in the field, like in the eco
Not only
lab.
Chinese, not only from China.
Not only Chinese,
Not only Chinese
sometimes
products.
I follow a lot of cases for biologic food, and I can say that the label bio is something that they put in the packaging, but sometimes is not true. It's very, very difficult for a normal consumer to understand this process. And when you buy something in a supermarket, to understand what you are buying and why you are
Especially for
buying.
food, so according to your research, for food.
My personal case, yes, was in the court of Rome, and it was just for biologic food.
That is interesting. Thanks.
Anya, do you want to add something?
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
Maybe just one thing. When I made my research on detergents, it was quite hard to recognize polymeric material. I am a biochemist, and I wasn't sure what are those components. So yes, it's quite hard to distinguish in that field. It's quite more easier on personal care products. Yes, maybe I will talk a little bit more later on our research on toothpaste, but still those labels can help an average consumer to easily pick the more ecological or more environmental friendly item. So this is my comment. Yes,
I think that sometimes the eco label, like the biological label, is something that it's a justification to increase the price of something, just because with following some rules you have to pay a little bit more. I don't know how many industries follow the procedure as it is.
I think they should. Because I read a few weeks ago that the European Commission strengthened those rules last year just because of those, how can I say, holes that the industry can find, or the obstacle they can...
Shortcuts.
Shortcuts, yes.
Shortcuts.
Yes. So I think we are quite improving these restrictions. So, but it goes very slowly. If you are more familiar with regulations and something like that.
Yes.
But still, when I was reading those procedures, they are so long lasting. So just short comment on that.
Well, I think that trying to have some more regulations in a sort of way stricter than the present situation can be useful to avoid food allergies and food intolerances. Can they connected or not?
I'm not sure about this answer.
Anya, I want to say that we have a legal behavior. You know, the rules are made this way. Okay. For enemies, there is a strong application. For friends, interpretation.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
This is the answer. Yes, please.
Can I ask a question?
Buonasera, professoressa.
Buonasera. I'd like to know if any kind of plastic contains in different various products can be replaced by bioplastics.
Yes.
Any kind of plastic can it replaced by bioplastics?
Yes, biodegradable polymers are not restricted in those kind of products. So manufacturers are planning to replace, yes, thank you, to replace the synthetic polymers with biodegradable ones. Yes.
And what's the matter? What's the problem in replacing bioplastics with the plastic products? Is it due only to a matter of price, of cost, or also the possibility, the effect we can obtain through plastic products or
yes,
the bioplastic ones?
I think all of these reasons, because of the cost, because of the durability of these products, effectiveness of these products, I think it all comes into this package.
So we could state that plastic was an amazing invention. The
Of
only
course.
problem was linked to pollution and to the fact that it can be considered as a poison for our health, of course, and for the health of the whole environment.
Yes, last month we had a webinar in Slovenia, and we had a guest from the plastic industry, and they said that there is not a problem in this material, but there are problem in our behavior, because we are not able to dispose waste correctly, to manage this waste and items. So this is their opinion, that there's not plastic that is a problem, but we are humans.
Okay,
like that.
The problem of disposal. Of course, there are products which are made of plastic, iron together. How can we separate different materials since they are present in the same object?
Yes.
This is the problem.
This is a quite big challenge. Yes.
It depends on also from the complexity of the objects made of different materials.
Yes, I agree. But may I add something? When we were talking about biodegradable polymers, if we look at those restrictions that are planning to be implemented in the European Union, we have to know that here are also polymers that would not make into the restrictions, not only biodegradable, but also water soluble synthetic polymers, and also nanomaterials or nanoplastics, because the proposal sets a lower limit of 100 nanometers. So there are some exceptions, and some organizations are really complaining about that, because they still think that also other materials can produce problems in our environment. So there are, I think, three, water soluble, biodegradable, and nano range exceptions for these restrictions. So manufacturers have still some space to produce cheaper, durable, and lifelong material products. Let's say products. So.
Thank you, Anya. Thank you.
Yes.
We have a short video, and then we have another questions for all of us.
When we talk about coatings, paints, and inks, we are partly moving towards the industrial sector. However, these issues are also related to households, since we are talking about water-based paints used in construction, colors, and coatings used in maritime transport or marine activities, and also various anti-slip tapes and toners for printers. Printer toners, for example, typically contain styrene acrylate copolymer, two polymers together, about 2 to 10 micrometers in size. The problem is that the quantities of microplastics in this area are huge, and their contribution to the problem of microplastics is significant. The estimate for the European Union is that about 25% of paints are used for marine applications, and another 25% in road construction and buildings, and all these paints are polymer-based. The functions of the paints and coatings are different. Let's look at the use of paints, such as road paint markings. These paints must be very durable to have appropriate surface effects, appropriate density, hardness, durability, and so on.
Ecco, qual è il prodotto che usi più spesso e molto probabilmente contiene microplastiche? Sapone detergente. Non ci sono cambi. Dovrebbe essere questo. Face cleanser.
Now, if you are home and if you have time, you can check any product, maybe detergent?
Yes, detergent.
Yes, detergents, soap.
Shower
Okay.
foam.
Yeah.
Ok, penso che possiamo andare avanti.
Ok, questa è la risposta definitiva su questo.
Yeah,
Adesso,
detergents, shower
sì.
gel, ok.
Adesso abbiamo un altro short video e poi un'altra domanda.
Here we dedicate our discussion to water-soluble polymers found in cosmetics. You can also find the term water-soluble polymers, or WSP, a commonly used abbreviation. These are organic substances, organic materials that have been used for decades for various applications, including cosmetics, industries such as paints, adhesives, detergents, pharmaceuticals, which, unlike these particles, are defined by the European Commission as water-soluble microplastic. These water-soluble types are polyacrylamide, polyethylene Illinois, polyethylene glycol, polyvinyl pyrrolidone, polyvinyl alcohol. So, these are the most typical synthetic polymers that do not meet the criteria for the definition of microplastics. However, their effects have not been studied to such an extent that we can say that they do not have any potential for adverse impact on the environment or our health. This is because minimal information on their concentrations is available, for example, regarding toxicity in the environment and related to the ecotoxicological studies. Therefore, some organizations think that these polymers are also being treated appropriately and are getting involved in this story, as they can also be important. One such organization that has included these water-soluble polymers in its research-oriented activities is the Plastic Soup Foundation, which has been running the Beat the Microbead campaign since 2012. In addition, they have been raising awareness through various promotional activities since 2012. Still, they have also made a list of all microplastic ingredients found in cosmetics and personal care products as part of their website. And if we look back to 2015, when they started compiling this list, there were about 67 different microplastic substances on this list, while today, when they manage it under the European Commission, with various other research institutions, there have been already listed more than 500 microplastic components. Because there are a lot of such ingredients and because they also have different properties, the products were divided into 4 categories, namely the red category, orange, green and zero categories. Thus, they divided personal care products according to the type of polymer put on the red list, the polymers and products that comply with the definition of microplastics of the European Commission. So, these are solid particles with a diameter of less than 5 millimeters. These are polyethylene, polypropylene, nylon, polyurethane. On the 4th of February 2022, when I last looked at it, they had as many as 571 substances. This is also because combinations of different polymers often appear in products, and these copolymers, as we call them, also contribute to this higher number. However, they also prepared an orange list, where they placed questionable synthetic polymers or microplastics. These are, for example, water-soluble, liquid polymers and some polymers without carbon. These include polysomers, well-known polyethylene glycols, polypropylene glycols, for which there are not enough studies to prove whether they can be put on the red list or maybe even on the green. Then on the green are all those products that do not contain microplastics. This category also includes the products produced by larger companies that do not guarantee that all their products are microplastic-free. Finally, on the zero list, there are those products or those brands that do not use microplastics in their entire product line. Now maybe a few words about polyethylene glycol. You will encounter this kind of polymer material very often in your bathroom. Polyethylene glycol is a thick sticky liquid that consists of the most common form of plastic, polyethylene, in combination with glycol. If we look chemically, we know many types of polyethylene glycols, several derivatives with very diverse molecular weights. These molecular masses are then also written in numbers following the abbreviation. This information is always added. We also have polyethylene glycols in various combinations like PEG 100 stearate. What is the advantage of this polymer? Why is it used in cosmetics? It mainly has appropriate chemical properties and allows for better product intake or absorption through the skin. This is also called the penetration enhancing effect. The lower the molecular weight of these polyethylene glycols, the easier they pass through the skin. If we look at their cosmetics function, microplastics can again act as emollients, emulsifiers, moisturizers, surfactants, solvents, etc. They can also have several features. But what are the doubts or questions that arise with polyethylene glycols? It has often been the subject of general discussions about the potential impact on health, but no study has shown significant effects on health and the environment. Toxicological studies may have indicated that in some small concentrations, polyethylene glycol may irritate the skin and possibly trigger an allergic reaction, dermatitis. Therefore, it can be defined as a gentle dermal irritant. Let's look at its effects on the environment. Obtaining polyethylene glycol through ethoxylation is a chemically very aggressive, complex, potentially harmful process because the substance from which polyethylene glycol is synthesized is ethylene oxide. This substance is classified as flammable, toxic, carcinogenic, mutagenic, toxic to reproduction. Although mostly ethylene oxide is not supposed to be found in the final product, it is still somewhat likely that this ingredient remains present. This is one of those exclamations or doubts that the use of polyethylene glycols brings. At the same time, dioxane may also be present. It is a carcinogenic irritant, which can be present as an impurity in the production of polyethylene glycol and can form explosive peroxides with atmospheric air, which is, of course, something you would not want on your skin. And that's the reason it makes sense to treat polyethylene glycol with caution and why the Beat the Microbead campaign put them on the orange list. Some time ago, my students and I made a simple overview of information. We found that the amount of data on the website increased by as many as 3,000 products over 3 months. So, this is a regularly updated website, and many products are being constantly added. You can see that they are categorized according to their function, such as facial care, body care, oral hygiene, hand hygiene, child care, makeup. If you take some time to research, you may find it easier to identify microplastics in your home. So, I highly recommend it. In February 2022, for example, of the 33,000 products listed on this website, as many as 44% can be placed on the red list according to the organization's criteria. This means that there are still many products on the market that contain microplastics, whether it is polyethylene, polypropylene, or polyurethane. Almost 53% are such products from the orange list, which means that they contain slightly more questionable polymers, such as polyethylene glycol. On the green list, there is somewhere 24% of all products, while the zero group belongs somewhere 13% of products. Don't be fooled that the sum of these percentages isn't 100% as you might expect, but it's not because you can have a product that, in addition to the red listed polymer, may also contain the orange listed polymer. Therefore, all these percentages cannot then be added together to 100%.
Molto molto interessante. Diciamo che le sigle e gli acronimi che vengono utilizzati, specie in chimica, non sono facilmente leggibili, diciamo, dal consumatore medio, quindi non è mai facile riuscire nell'acquisto di un prodotto a capire, ecco, forse i colori, la lista rossa piuttosto che la lista arancione ci possono aiutare a capire di più la gravità o meno delle sostanze contenute, e sono come i famosi coloranti nei cibi, che solamente chi andava a leggere gli ingredienti sapeva se c'erano dei coloranti particolarmente nocivi nel cibo. Naturalmente in questa slide c'era un riferimento a delle sostanze altamente inquinanti, altamente nocive. Noi nella nostra città, quando vediamo la parola dioxina, dioxan o dioxin, che
dioxin, we understand that pollution is there.
We are in the city of the steel industry, so we know very well what is the problem with these things. Anya, do you want to add something after this video?
Yes, if I can. So I really recommend this web page, Beat the Microbit, because you can just easily type inside your product, cosmetic product, the name, and based on their database, you will get the information if your product contains any skeptical ingredients, any microplastics or something like that. So it's quite useful. And 2 years ago, my students made a research on toothpaste. We selected toothpaste because they are widely used among all population, among women and men and children. And we checked the declarations in drogery markets and the stores and at our homes. We checked approximately 200 toothpaste, and the results were quite interesting because, sorry, I just have to open my document with the numbers. Okay, our result showed that 52% of those toothpaste contained synthetic polymers. Okay, half of them, but they mostly contained polyethylene glycols in 66%. So they, our products were mostly listed on the orange list, but still among the red listed polymers, the most often present was carbomer. Why not polyethylene, polypropylene, polyvinyl chloride, polyurethane? Why? Because nowadays we are very well aware of these types of polymers, and manufacturers, let's say, switched to another type of polymers. So because we all know that polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride are very bad, let's say, the use of other copolymers like carbomers increased greatly. So therefore, nowadays we can find carbomer very often in our products, and also polyethylene glycols. And as I said earlier, the polyethylene glycols, because they are water soluble, they are not included in those bans of intentionally added microplastics. So they can be present in the products, but still, I really support the preventive action. So maybe it's better to avoid also polyethylene glycols, because we have a lot of other products on the market which are also without polyethylene glycols, but we just have to read the declaration.
It's better if we find in the supermarket a reading machine that read the label and what is inside every product.
Yes, to express all the, yes, so all the items, all the legend. Okay. Yes,
I think that just Israel is the only state that wants to do this in any field. They want to use this kind of machine to read everything. I saw something about this in the wine industry, because in the etiquette of the wine they want to put all the percentage. They call it readable etiquette, and if we can do it in wine, we can do in every other field.
Yes,
any application.
Maybe I can add, as a school, as a college, we are also part of one project group within the Erasmus Plus also, with the name of Green Gate. And the aim of this project is also to increase awareness and responsible choice among those products. And one of the aim of this project is also to create a mobile application that will help us with the scanning a barcode. So it's quite enthusiastic, I think, but still we will make something. We are just, our role is to make some scientific or professional articles to raise awareness, and other partners from Czech Republic, they are responsible for the mobile application. So maybe I think 2 years later, I will send you a link to the application.
The results of the application.
Yes.
I think that considering what we can do with the new Google Glass, that you can read, you can put your eyes, for example, if you see a document with glasses, you will see all the history of this document in your glasses. I think that the technology could be the same.
Yes.
It will be a very digital way to ameliorate the project.
Yes.
Can I ask
yes.
something about this? I wonder, are only European countries aware of the problem, about this problem of the presence of microplastics inside our products? And what about, we are aware of the problem, of course. What about the other countries in the world? Because European countries can't solve the problem of the presence of microplastics inside in the environment. Because if the other countries in the world are not aware of the problem,
we will not resolve.
we won't resolve it at all.
Well, it's quite
okay, we can become
global
aware
question.
Of the problem. It is a sort of beginning. Okay, but we should also ask the other countries to give their contribution. Otherwise, I can't see the solution to this problem, because the water does not belong only to Europe. Okay, the ocean, the oceans link a lot of countries, and all the substances inside the water come from Asia up to Europe and vice versa. So I wonder, how can we solve the problem if only the European countries face this problem?
It's a very global question. I don't have an answer, but I think the awareness of other countries depends also on their state priorities. If you know what I mean, it depends on the strength of some, I don't know, regulations, politics, social, economical stage. So it's quite difficult to say. Like we said, in China, they have, let me say.
Okay, in China, for example, the concept, I'm sorry for interrupting you, the production of goods, of any kind of objects, depends on the main value to them, is the production of the cheapest object. So that it could be sold everywhere in the world. So we have understood that
the regulations are very different from ours.
It depends on the use of plastics. So how can we solve the problem?
We will not resolve.
No, it's a big challenge.
We will not resolve. We just know that in this
we can also only acquire a sort of awareness of the problem. Of course, I was not conscious, I was not aware of the fact that most of the microplastics were inside our products, the ones we use daily. I thought it was only a matter of packaging, bottles made of plastic, but the real problem depends, from what I have just known through your videos, the real problem is the substances
Yes.
contained inside the plastic bottles, which of course goes into the water, into the oceans and our seas. That's the big problem.
Yes, and if I already said, I think on the first webinar that personal care products and cosmetics contributes only 2% of primary microplastic in the ocean. So the main sources are tires. So is the traffic. It's the traffic and our synthetic textiles. So, and those are much bigger
Problem.
issues. Yes. Yes.
And is there something which can replace tires? Is there a material?
It's a lot on our behavior, on how we drive the cars, how often we drive a car. So it's also about our attitude towards the
It's a very big
car use. Yes.
I think that
very big problem.
But I think that the opportunity to meet together, to share our experiences on this topic and be a sort of a starting point to make some more awareness to our students and to ourselves. So the first step maybe is
for new generation.
Yes, without any doubt, because
yes.
knowledge is at the basis of everything.
Yes, knowledge is
without,
the basis.
Without any doubt. It is extremely important.
Yeah.
But we should find even a solution to spread this knowledge, to let other countries, to make them become aware of all these problems, which are really great problems, big problems for our health.
Let me say that in economy, the different approach about the people in the world is that when we have something new that we have to consider, the American, they thinks about how to do business. European think how do the regulation of it.
Yeah.
The Chinese how to produce the fake. This was the globalized world until this war, because
you are completely right.
Yes. But I think that starting from this war, from this period, we are at the beginning of the end of the globalization, and everything will change. We are going again to the economy of carbons. So let's consider it, and let's consider how many steps less we are doing in these 2 months.
You have just stated the key to understand how the thing work in our reality.
It was this way.
Maybe it could be interesting to think global, but to act local.
Yes, let's see what will be the end of the world at the end of this period, just to understand better in which direction we are going to. Ok, allora, i polietilenglicoli si trovano spesso nei dentifrici. Guarda i dentifrici nel tuo bagno e scrivi in quanti dentifrici trovi PEG. Questa è una specie di caccia al tesoro nei propri bagni. Possiamo iniziare.
Sì, penso che va bene così, no?
Va bene? Ok. Ania, do you want to tell us something about the percentage?
So I think the question is how many toothpaste?
Yes, how many PEG there are in the toothpaste?
Yes,
toothpaste. Yeah.
Yes.
Then there is the treasure hunt in the house to find the toothpaste.
Well, here I have 3.
Okay.
Because we made some microscopic analysis with students, because some microbits are visible also with free eyes and also under the microscope. And within those 3, only one contains polyethylen glycol 6. So it's quite easily to recognize polyethylene glycols in toothpaste.
Do you think the most expensive or the cheaper one?
I think it's not quite connected to the price. Maybe a little bit.
Is it connected to the honestly?
I
What kind of
think
connection that can be?
depends.
I don't know. But still, I also, it was interesting. I also checked the toothpaste for kids. Okay, and also in that kind of products, polyethylene glycols are present. So also among those toothpaste, you should be careful. You should be careful. You can be careful. Yeah. But if I check the results, it's one toothpaste, but it also depends on how many toothpaste you have at home. So if everyone has its own and you are 4 in your family, one toothpaste, it's not a higher result. So it depends on how many toothpaste you possess. So yes, it's quite hard. Yes, sorry.
I think that it could be interesting to have a kind of list of all these acronyms which refers to the presence of microplastics inside our products in order to to make our choices, okay,
Yes.
of various
to have a
products
literacy.
available in shops and so on. Maybe it could be useful to have a kind of list.
Yes.
Like a peg, for example, for toothpaste, and even for other acronyms for other products.
Okay, PEGs are easily to recognize because just the acronyms, PEG and the number.
Okay.
But you can still Google the bit the microbit, and there is a huge list of those components.
Okay.
And you can also filter your searching with dental care. For example, you put dental care, and you could also write the brand of your toothpaste and type, because each brand has many types of toothpaste, and you can check if your toothpaste is already put in the database in their database, and you can find a lot of toothpaste already there. And another option is that you write or you check the list of the skeptical or microplastic components, but I think it's easier to start with the brand and with the type, and it's quite easily to find. So I really think
to check if the presence of microplastics inside the product. Okay,
it's very user-friendly database and web page. So I really recommend the use of this page.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we have, I think we have just the last video, which is the consideration under the law.
And about the alternatives.
Yeah, and alternatives.
Yes.
Of course, it now makes sense to also touch on legislative aspects. What is happening in the field of legislation? We are indeed now in a time when the use of microplastics in personal care products is being phased out. We are also on the way to the effective limitation of intentionally added and deliberately used microplastics. In 2018, ECHA, the European Chemicals Agency, at the initiative of the European Commission, launched a study, Risk Assessment of Microplastic Components. In 2019, they proposed restrictions, which then went through different procedures, involving various stakeholders, different committees, risk assessment committees, socio-economic analysis committees, and so on. And in 2022, the adoption of these restrictions is expected, and the production, import, and sale of such products will be permanently banned. However, the longer-term goal of such restrictions is to prevent the release of some 500,000 tons of microplastics during the next 20 years. The Netherlands was the first country to ban the import, production, and sale of microbeads in rinse-off products. England also imposed the same ban in 2018, and in 2020, Canada, France, and New Zealand, followed by Italy. So, the countries are already urging their initiative. They are working in the preventive direction. Similar measures are expected soon also at the level of the European Union. So, what is the alternative to microbeads and their roles in household products? Today we already know a lot of alternatives, which can be different waxes, starch from various plant sources, seaweed, silicon dioxide or quartz, clay, and so on. We have different walnuts, almond shells, stones, cellulose, sugar, poppy seeds, coffee beans, so there are quite a few good alternatives today. Years ago, manufacturers were surveyed and asked whether they were already investigating or doing something in the direction of replacing synthetic polymers with some natural components. A lot was said about walnut shells, apricot shells, and pits. So, everyone strived to make substances biodegradable in as many different environments as possible. These substances have already been used in many products for many years. They are well established in the market. Chemically, silicon dioxide, quartz sand, and quartz rock are the most widely used, mainly due to their inert, non-toxic nature. Of course, it is also very unlikely for them to cause allergic reactions. For example, I found some data for Henkel, which is a very well-known manufacturer. They are currently testing several types of alternative abrasives, lactic acid, walnut shells, and silicon dioxide. Also, jojoba grains, for example, at Colgate. So yes, manufacturers are trying to adapt.
Molto molto interessante. Quindi le proposte, come vedete, ci sono state e devo dire anche l'adesione dei gruppi industriali che stanno cercando di sostituire lì dove è possibile la presenza di queste sostanze, sfruttando le risorse naturali che sono, come sempre la natura ci viene incontro con soluzioni alternative. Ecco, il fatto che delle aziende grosse, come è stata nominata la Henkel, che produce una quantità di detersivi, di marchio, titolare del marchio di tantissimi dei prodotti di detersivi per il lavaggio domestico in generale, è un ottimo approccio. Avete visto anche qualche azienda di azienda casa produttrice di dentifrici che anche lì stava sostituendo alcune sostanze con prodotti naturali. Ci sono domande? Ci sono ulteriori domande o siamo riusciti ad essere esaustivi più o meno in questo percorso interessantissimo di oggi che ha visto una partecipazione, devo dire, abbastanza corposa?
Any questions from the guys? Maybe not.
Sembrerebbe di no.
Above all, from our students.
Yes, maybe not.
Sembra di no. Va bene, io chiudo qui i lavori, vi ringrazio tutti quanti, ringrazio il Liceo Battaglini, le professoresse Maria Grazia Cupone, Marilena Lincesso e anche i professori che sono presenti o si sono connessi
Il
con
professor
i quali...
Sacco e ovviamente il ringraziamento alla dirigente,
naturalmente al dirigente
professoressa Patrizia Arzeli che ha concesso questa nostra partecipazione.
Io auguro faccio il mio in bocca al lupo a tutti gli studenti che concluderanno gli studi quest'anno e i nostri lavori continueranno poi a settembre-ottobre, avremo altri 3 webinar di questo progetto dove vi chiederemo di coinvolgere le classi nuove arrivate, sempre dell'ultimo anno, quelli che devono interfacciarsi con l'ultimo anno e avremo ancora il piacere di lavorare insieme, di avere il Liceo Battaglini come nostro partner prescelto. Thank you Ania, thank you Alenka, thank you Ales, grazie a tutti, arrivederci.